welcome to Spaces. We're here tonight for the exhibition called Greetings from Quarantine. As you can see, Greetings from Quarantine. And behind me we have an installation of a living room, supposedly, maybe, during the quarantine time of a family. And the whole exhibition is based on what did you do during quarantine, or what can you do when you're quarantined. The exhibition was the brainchild of Sophia Kosia. Sophia Kosia is a Booker High School student that works here at the Spaces Foundation. And I'm super happy to have her working here. She's so talented and so creative. And she came up with this whole idea to curate this exhibition with this title, Greetings from Quarantine. And there are several different areas of the show that we will walk you through. There's the living room that simulates a family during quarantine. There's a student's desk with original poetry from several students that submitted poetry and different types of sayings for this show. There's a gallery wall filled with artworks from several different schools in the Sarasota-Bradenton area. There is an installation in a small room that's a performance art piece curated and designed by Sophia with two performing actors inside. And we also have some original photography and an installation of journals with original writings that occurred during quarantine. So there's a lot going on during this composition. It is a composition, but during this exhibition. And we also have students performing outside, performing works that they created or they were thinking about during quarantine, and that made them the whole spin on the COVID-19 quarantine theme for this exhibition is that being quarantined actually made these students more creative, and they had time to think about what they were going to do with their time, and it led them to make more interesting artwork or experiment with things they never would normally experiment with. So we're really, really grateful that you tuned in to check it out, and we're going to walk around a little bit and show you some things that are going on here in the gallery. We have a crowd outside, so maybe we'll show you some of the performers outside, and Sophia's going to walk around and show you that. Thank you.
Okay. We are going to start outside. One of our live performers just hopped down. This is Casey performing right now. Say hi to Instagram Live, Case. Oh, let's watch his last song then.
And I won't be singing in this one. The mic's not broken. I'm just not singing it. Good morning. It's just my name, Casey Bakery. Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Our next performer will be Laura Urexoy, and she will be coming up in 10 minutes. All right, so this is our outside space. Casey just hopped down.
Doing the Instagram live right now. Hi everybody, we're switching musical performers right now. Maybe we'll come back
For Laura. Yeah, so this is the diary wall that Marianne was talking about earlier. So actually, about a year ago, I started a diary on the day of the cancellation of my school's musical. And I was kind of like, what am I going to do now that the show isn't happening? So I made a list titled like, what can you do? Of things that I would have to do if I ran out of like my normal daily tasks. So this is like part to-do list, part like new crazy things that I learned. I got really into knitting. I got into all sorts of things. And this kind of reflects that and like kind of my constant desire to create something new. And then one of the main things that I really got into was doing solo one-on-one photo shoots. So behind me on this wall, you'll see some of those. And I got really into portrait photography. And this is actually the very first shoot I did. And I was masked and I was pretty far away from her, so it's actually titled Far Away. And it was for a presentation that I was doing with a virtual summer program. And then all of the rest of these kind of came from that. And I also started working with a literary magazine. So I started shooting for them. And it was like national, so I didn't know many of the students that I was actually working and collaborating with. So I'd kind of get like a theme every month, and then I'd have to shoot for the magazine. So this is actually inspired by like a mental health issue that they did, and then like a Valentine's Day issue. So those are all kind of my shoots that I started doing and what I learned about myself. I had not picked up a camera since my freshman year.
Let's move into this area in front of the video or the movie that's playing. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about the show in general.
So the show, like I said before, kind of stems from that diary that I was showing you all. And I kind of came to Marianne and Spaces in a really strange way. Marcus over here, hi Marcus, come say hi. Marcus was dressed up like a mime for like the first show that Marianne was doing in August. And over quarantine, I was a social media coordinator I worked remotely for the Florida Theater Conference up in Gainesville. And I started doing social media marketing and content creation for them because that was something that I had a little bit of experience in and could do from home. And so Marianne, when I got to the gallery to help out with Marcus, was like, I actually need someone to run Instagram Live and do social media. And I was kind of talking to her about all the stuff that I had learned. And then she hired me on to work with her as a contractor in the gallery here. So I work here normally. But when I got to work, she asked me if I could make one show about anything, what would it be? And I was kind of like, I'm tired of hearing everyone say all of these things about quarantine and not look at it as like an opportunity for kids my age to grow. Because all of that time spent alone, I think really forced me at least to reflect on myself and like what I held true. So a big thing that I realized was that a lot of the art that I was creating and work that I was making, I was really just doing it for a job because I work for theater and I like do freelance theater, and I was working less to fulfill my own artistic need and my own kind of values. So I reevaluated, started doing things that made me happier, meditated a lot, reflected a lot, and then kind of came up with this thing. And I was so inspired by all of the people around me that were also doing the same thing and learning all these new things. So you'll kind of see on this wall here, these are all student works from students that also probably jumped into new mediums. Like Jill over here started embroidery, and then I know that Anne-Marie over here that did this piece came out with the series, and she's actually selling all of these pieces now, which is really awesome. She had like she was an artist and a visual artist, but she had never really dove into this collection. It's like a full-scale collection now. Sarah actually moved from being a musical theater major to being an art major and is going to school for art now, which I think is super awesome. And these are some of her little doodles. And then this is Elijah Merman's piece. And Elijah got really into doing photo manipulation over quarantine and working in photography like I was, but she was primarily a visual artist and then started doing photo manipulation. And this whole wall is just filled with pieces from quarantine. This is a collection that Akos did that's inspired by mundane tasks that he did. He kind of did the same thing with me with the diary, where he was writing pieces of his day. So like brushing his hair, and then he put like a twist on that art. Washing his face, things like that. These are photography from Zach Fonder. He kind of walked around and took photography and landscapes of things that he could do near him. Another one of Elijah's pieces, one of April's pieces about mowing the lawn, one of Sarah's pieces. This is by a Riverview High School student named Sarah Hewitt. She actually discovered that she really loved symphony and orchestra and learned how to play violin. And this piece is called Amor de Symphony because she discovered that she just absolutely loved playing violin. Nicolina, she's a visual artist at Booker as well. More of Zach's pieces, another one from Anne Marie's collection, and then one of Chloe Russick's pieces over here. We'll give you all a better view of that. And the wall is just filled with students who are doing all sort of interesting, inspiring things.
And it's opening night here, so we have lots of people milling about, which is fun, and we have music outside. And we have a piece here that was a collaboration. Can you talk about this one, Sophia? Oh, I lost her. This is a collage, and it's a collaboration. Can you talk about this piece a little?
I can definitely. Akos and I have been best friends for like the last year or so, and we've never really gotten the opportunity to work together. So over quarantine, we were talking about getting to do some sort of collaboration. And Akos really liked this photo shoot that I had done, and we kind of started talking about how going back to school and even like working with our school board and our current government and our political system, it constantly seemed like we were going back to the drawing board. And it felt a lot like people our age were having to completely reinvent the system for themselves to better serve ourselves. So something that also really inspired this exhibition for me was the fact that a lot of schools in Manatee County kind of used the pandemic as an excuse to just cut our classes out entirely. And as the show shows you, art is a really essential coping mechanism for students, and so many of us used that as a way to get through quarantine. So this is kind of about having to completely reinvent and scrap everything and like pick up the pieces and connect the dots for yourself. So there's like headings about SAT scores and Joe Biden's first 100 days. We've been adding to this for a while now. And just kind of working on distressing the piece whenever we got the opportunity to.
Great, thanks. How about, should we go into the installation?
Sure.
Do you want to take the phone?
Yeah, I can walk through. So I'm gonna walk and talk. This piece is very inspired by the struggle between my left brain and my right brain, if you can read that. Personally, something that I've constantly gone back and forth my entire life with is like, should I use a lot of like the creativity that I have to do something artistic, or should I use my organization and my management skills to do something else? And really over quarantine with the arts industry in the situation that it was, I began to struggle with that more and more. And I was kind of like, if the arts industry isn't going to exist by the time I graduate college, should I even waste time going into it? And ultimately, I have decided that I'm pursuing a BFA, but this kind of shows you the balance between my left brain and my right brain. So over here, you see Chloe, who represents my left brain, stuck inside Zoom. But on the right side of the room, you see Raina, who is the right side of my brain, who is painting and making things, and she's completely destroyed her laptop and kind of thrown caution to the wind and done whatever she's wanted to do. And really, it shows like the constant ongoing power struggle for me. But if you look at the walls, the right brain is really overcoming the left brain and making its own thing. And I think that the stereotype that students are only supposed to be one or the other is really outdated. And personally, I think that you can be both. You can be intelligent and creative and professional while also making art. So this is a better look at them. And then Mr. Daniel in the corner, our videographer. Yeah. And actually, if I pop out here, you'll hear Alara performing. I think I might we're gonna pop that through here. And we're gonna go meet Marianne in the gallery space. I'm just gonna give you a good look. This is Elijah. I was showing you some of their pieces a minute ago. And then this is also a video installation that I did with dance. And that's Casey, who was performing earlier, kind of showing you video clips and looks into what some students have been doing. So thank you so much for joining us on Instagram Live. We're gonna end the performance or the live here. There will be more videos posted to our YouTube, and the entirety of this live will be posted to our YouTube. But thank you so much for joining us.